Welcome everyone. This is the Bountiful City Council meeting, Tuesday, February 12th, 2019. This is a regular session, and we just got through with the work session that is in the planning room that's off the main foyer here, which we have each time, usually at 6 o'clock prior to our City Council. Thank you, City Council, for all being here. We will excuse Richard Higginson, who is away from us tonight, but we do have a quorum to proceed with our business. Those of you who are here observing, we appreciate all of you who have come, and the scouts, hey, this is going to be a really, really long meeting. You need to stay here the whole time, by the way. Yeah, this will be a 2 or 3 hour meeting for you. No, I'm just kidding. It's like a pretty short meeting tonight. It's me, Mayor. All right. So, and we appreciate our staff as well. Let's start by having a Pledge of Allegiance, and we've asked Ammon Erickson if he'd come and just lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks, Ammon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Ammon. And tonight, for our council prayer, we've asked President Todd Hilton, his first counselor in the Stone Creek Stake presidency, to offer a word of prayer for us. Thank you, President.
Our beloved Father in heaven, we're most grateful for the opportunity to gather this evening. We're grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy and for those that are diligent and vigilant in protecting those freedoms. We pray for thy Spirit to be with those that attend and offer their opinions this day, that they'll feel respected, and that civility and decorum will always prevail in these chambers. And we're grateful for those that serve of their own time and effort to protect our way of life and improve our community. We're grateful for those that have gone forth from our community that serve in protecting our freedoms throughout the world, and those that have gone forth in other capacities, and we pray for their well-being and their protection, and ask for thy Spirit to attend us this evening. And this we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, President Hilton. This is our time for public comment. We have up to 10 minutes of public comment each and every City Council meeting. And each person is allowed 2 minutes to come and speak at the podium, answering the question of their name and where they're from. And then at the end of 2 minutes or less, we invite anyone else to come up. So with that, I'll open the 2 minute period. Thanks for the 10-minute period.
Can I be first?
Absolutely.
Greatly.
Mr. Crane.
So, Mayor Lewis, City Council, and City Administrators, I stand here on behalf of the Alberta Arch. And I know that we've got a presentation in front of you. I don't know if you've had a chance to review it. I don't have time to do that tonight. But I thank you for reviewing this brief summary of the historic nature of this 102-year-old Alberta Arch. I can tell you that romance, murder, robbery, fortunes won, fortunes lost, along with the history of 5 generations of families are all a part of the history that has occurred near, around, and under this community landmark. Its unique age and style and its original homage to the notion of a community to be created with beautiful land or beautiful homes and gardens requires that it receive special recognition by the city. This iconic symbol helps us to remember our past, and it helps us to measure our progress. It needs our help. It needs the city's help. And I'm happy to champion this cause with the city's support. I thank you for your consideration. And with the 47 seconds I have left, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Name and address.
My name's Joe Crane, 35-year resident of Bountiful. You want my address? 1622 Canyon Oak Circle. The zip code's 84010.
Joe, and we will reference you to Chad Wilkinson, who is our city planner. And if you'll make contact with him, would that be the correct route to go from city manager here? Then he will give you further direction.
Should I reach out to him?
Yes, please. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you. Ron?
Ron Martinson, 3032 South 400 West, Bountiful. And I just wanted to talk to you about SB 52, which is the water metering bill. You talked about it in the work session, but I just wanted to bring a couple of other points to the table on that. First of all, remember we have 2 water districts in this city. We have the Bountiful Irrigation District and we have the South Davis Water District in Valverta. This bill has a fiscal note on it right now of $286 million, which I would argue probably is understated because they're using $1,300 a meter to install a meter per home. The South Davis Water District estimates it'll cost $2,000 per home in order to install a meter. And if you look at the residents in Bountiful, these areas that they're talking about hitting, these are affordable housing areas, lots of seniors living on fixed income, and lots of young families moving into this area buying their first home. You drop a $2,000 charge on those families, that's going to hurt. The other thing you got to think about is that if some of these districts could actually be driven out of business, these smaller districts, and one thing they're doing now is they're making water affordable to the public. And a thing that happened here in the city that you saw when you went out to buy water, and it's in the minutes of the meeting, Weber Water wanted to charge you $550 an acre foot. South Davis gave it to you for $80 an acre foot. That's a 700% difference. If you drive these small districts out, you're going to have monopoly. So you've got to support the small water districts. And the last thing I'll say on it, rather than putting in stupid meters, why doesn't somebody create an app that people can use to find out what their consumption is, cut it back, and save water? Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Please.
Hello, my name is Mark Minnis. I live at 349 West,
Mark.
300 North. First of all, I'd like to thank each of you for the efforts you've made in solving this problem of inadequate off-street parking in the older neighborhoods of our city. But we still have over 350 residences that are prohibited from installing adequate off-street parking. The building department has taken the position that if the residences aren't able to meet all of the requirements of the ordinances, then they are denied the right to install adequate off-street parking. The residences that I speak of were built long before the present ordinances were adopted by the city. So they were built by a different set of standards, and it's impossible to meet the current requirements of the ordinances. U.S. City Council members have been elected to represent and serve the residents of this city and to address matters pertaining to governing. I presented you with a problem that is of lack of adequate off-street parking in the older neighborhoods of our city. People are parking on their lawns because they aren't able to install additional driveway space. This is an easy problem to fix. I've provided you with drawings that maintain the open space requirements, and this can be done at little cost to the city. The cost of installing adequate off-street parking is paid for by the individual property owners. Later this evening, you will be approving an additional parking lot for the Creekside Assisted Living Center. I live right around the corner from this, and at one time there was a single-family residence there. Now I'm going to get to look at a half-acre parking lot, and it'll be a nice complement to the enormous building complex that was approved for the Assisted Living Center. And as trends continue, you will continue to approve developers' plans to demolish single-family homes and build large-scale multifamily unit complexes with massive parking lots. These projects increase demand on our infrastructure and greatly increase congestion on our roads. It's time for you to do something nice for the residents who live in the older neighborhoods of our city, who bear the brunt of many of the decisions that you make in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to talk about something related.
Your name?
My name is Eric Egenoff. I'm an architect with Process Studio. We're based in Salt Lake City, but we're working with several developer teams. But what I want to talk about is specifically the parking in the downtown zone. So I have a sort of a copy of the comment that I'm going to summarize, and there's a couple of tables in here that I'd I'd hope you could kind of follow along with if I can give these to you guys. Okay. So the first table in there that you'll see, that's the parking standard for residential multifamily projects, and that's all of Bountiful. So you'll see in that, and that applies to downtown. You'll see in there, there's the unit types, and then it tells you how many parking spaces, including visitor parking, we're required to provide for each type of unit for 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom. And those are 1.75 for a 1 bedroom, 2.25 for a 2 bedroom, and then 2.75 for anything above. So that's straight off the planning website. Also on the planning website are the downtown master plan, the land use plan, the transportation plan, and then also the Plat A Main Street goals and policies, which talks specifically about downtown. And it suggests that the on-street parking is the most efficiently utilized, and it suggests reducing the off-street requirements for residential multifamily down to that second table on there, which is 1 spot per 1 bedroom, 1.5 for 2 bedrooms, and 2.0 for 3 bedrooms. And it gives several reasons for that. It talks about not providing visitor parking. It goes into residential multifamily households having fewer cars, that it's more walkable, also that the parking should be developer driven. And there's many examples that goes into it in that document. So what we're requesting is just that the City Council considers working with planning and zoning to reevaluate the downtown standards. We don't want large parking lots, and that'll actually help us make a little bit better use of that ground floor site.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks for sending this here. Brian.
Mayor, City Council, Brian Knowlton, 630 East, 500 South. I too am here talking on Eric's thing. I think it's important to look at your Plat A Main Street goals and policies that's on your website, because that is where it's recommending the reduction in parking calcs and visitor parking. I'm kind of a big stakeholder in downtown, and I've probably been maybe the largest catalyst for downtown for the last 20 years. So this is an area I'm very passionate about. I'm watching my time and I'm getting nervous. Utah has a housing crisis. You're very familiar with that. I'm sure that they've been pounding on you. We also have an affordability issue. The solutions to that is smaller, smarter, to start to create the new urbanism. To do the smaller, smarter, you can't really make it economically viable with the current parking standards. In other words, if you're providing that much parking land, you can't do a smaller, smarter unit to make it affordable. Most of the cities that I'm currently working with in the Wasatch Front are providing us tools to help solve that. One is infrastructure. Bountiful does really good in helping infrastructure to help with affordability. The other is parking and changing the requirements. Literally, two of the communities I'm working in right now gave me the parking in their downtown to bring me there to build. So I'm not asking that, but I would love to see the leadership and vision for downtown start at the top, start with the elected officials, and I'd like to see you drive that and help to make your planning. And Chad, is coincidental that he's not here, okay? But I would like to see the leadership and vision start at the top and push for the changes that are in your Plat A study. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. I think with that, we had our 10-minute mark. How are we doing? Well, that was a lively 10 minutes we've had. We haven't had that lively of a discussion for a while. So anyway, thank you all for coming and speaking to us, being part of the public comment. With that, Council, I suspect that you all looked at the minutes of the meeting held January 22nd, and if there's no corrections or additions, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve those minutes.
Second. Good. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those minutes are done. Council reports. Ms. Kate.
Nothing to report. Just enjoying the fun at the Capitol.
Yes, you are. You're a busy lady. Thanks, Kate. Chris.
Well, Mayor, I'd just like to report we've got 3 nice young men sitting right there, and I'm going to speak to them. This month is National Child's Dental Health Month. I hope all 3 of you are brushing and flossing your teeth every day. Every day. You'd be good scouts to do that. Also, Mayor,
You should maybe tell them what you do for a living, because otherwise that seemed kind of...
Yeah, I sense a conflict of interest.
Is there? Okay. I need to, young men. I need to note. First of all, there was a conflict of interest here, but none of those young men are my patients, so there shouldn't be a conflict there.
He's a dentist.
A pediatric dentist.
Thank you, Kate, for reminding me of that. Mm-hmm. We had the Super Bowl of Caring on the weekend of the Super Bowl for the city pantry. We had the largest amount of food developed and given at the Super Bowl of Caring. So that was really wonderful, and I was proud of it. On March the 16th will be the Scouts food drive. This might be the last organized Scout food drive. Also, the search training, citizens, our community emergency response team training will start again on March the 7th. I think you went through that, Mayor.
I did. I'm CERT trained.
And you are CERT trained. So the Bountiful City Service Council wanted me to mention that they're starting up again, and thank the mayor for taking it and participating and graduating.
I did.
So you are CERT trained.
I am. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Kendall.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Okay. Sir John Mark.
I've got a family that moved in this last year in my neighborhood, and they approached me this week, and they said that they cannot believe the amount of snow that's come since the first of the month, and that Bountiful City's been able to keep up with it and clear the ice and snow out, and they just wanted to express their appreciation for the streets department for doing that wonderful public service.
Thank you, John Mark. It's perfect. BCYC report, do you have anyone?
No, there's no one here tonight, unfortunately.
We miss them. They might be over to the concert choirs, over to the high school, I would suspect, tonight. Yes. So we'll consider approval, item number 6, weekly expenditures of greater than $1,000 paid January 14th, January 21st, and 28th, 2019, and the December 2018 financial report. Unless there's some discussion about that to start with.
I had a little question.
Okay, please.
Gary, I wondered, I don't mean to put you on the spot, so if you don't know the answer, we can get it later, but on page 12, about halfway down where it says moved AC unit from City Hall to police building, do you mind, was that for personnel that's going to be over there, or Lloyd, do you know?
Lloyd knows. I think I do too. I'm going to find out if I know what it is.
It was a relocation of what we call a split system, which is a small air conditioning heating system, and I believe it's for the new servers for the IT equipment over there.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks.
And you probably saw that we've had, if I counted them right, 6 purchases of salt for about $20,000 each time. I don't know, he's not here, but I don't know how many times they do that a year. But that's pretty good.
Do you want me to find the email?
We were just talking about this. I could probably tell you. So we've purchased about, I want to say right now, 14,000 tons of salt. In a normal year, last year for the entire season, it was 9,000 tons of salt. Tell you how much heavier this winter has been. In a normal season, we'll be between 12 and 16,000. And so we're looking to be closer to the 16,000 tons of salt. Did I remember that right, Kate?
That is what your email says when I asked that.
Yeah, there you go. So we've spent a lot of money, somewhere between $100,000 and $120,000 just on salt here in the last month. So if there aren't any other questions, anything else, Kendallin? I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the weekly expenditures for January 4th, reported on January 14th, 21st, and the 29th, as well as the December 2018 financial report as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, Mr. Slagowski, Mark, item number 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Each winter, we go out and we price pipe for our water line replacement program. And this winter, as not all winters are this way, but this winter the price of pipe went down 50 cents a foot. And it's going to go up about 8% more than we paid last year. So in other words, we can save about $1 a foot if we purchase the amount of pipe we need to do our projects this year. So we just looking to have your approval. We've got 3 bids from 3 different distributors here in town, and the lowest bid is Ferguson Waterworks for $50,830. And we would just like to purchase it now for our summer projects because the time is right and the price is right.
Thanks for planning ahead.
Yeah, that's
great.
awesome.
Can I ask
Saving
a
us
question?
money.
Sure.
You're getting 7,000 feet of pipe. Are you taking delivery of that all at once, or
We will.
is it going to be incremental?
We'll take it all.
Okay, and is that PVC pipe?
Yes.
And it's UV protected?
We have a bay at the end of our building that we can store it in. Yeah.
Good.
Perfect.
I have a question too.
Sure, please.
So
Kate.
given that the price is so good right now and that you expect it to go up, any reason to not buy even more and see if we can have 2 years worth of pipe on hand at this price?
I guess I wish I would have talked to you before I did this, because
There's a meeting next month.
you can't get this price anymore.
Will you get it next month though?
No.
Or no? No?
We just hit the window with this bid, and we were told that February 1st the price would go up.
Yeah, is there an opportunity to amend here at the meeting, Gary?
No, the problem is that the price has actually changed already.
Oh,
so what
okay.
happened was Mark contacted me while we were at the League of Cities and Towns Local Officials Day, saying if we buy the pipe today, we can get it at this rate. And so I authorized him based on the ability I have to do that, because we would have a price savings. So we can't.
So we better not look a gift horse in the mouth. We better just appreciate.
The price is gone.
It's gone.
We bought what we could.
So we're asking forgiveness for what we
Yeah, but this is exactly how we want to behave, for sure.
I think it's great.
So I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve the purchase of water pipe from Ferguson Waterworks. Is that which one you wanted?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it.
Did you have any other ones?
I do.
Okay. Oh, by the way, by the pipes, hey, boys, do you know how far it is from here to, like, Layton? Do you know how far that is? That's about 17 miles to get to the edge of Layton from here. That's how much pipe this man and his crew put underground in Bountiful. Was I right, 17 miles?
Well, 17,000 feet.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
3 miles.
Oh, 3 miles. From here to almost Centerville. Okay, it's a little bit different. But it's a long ways of pipe. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
17,000 feet. I just remembered the 17. All right. Next item.
Okay, 3 years ago, we pulled our Calder Well. I guess it was closer to 4 years ago, because it was wearing out. And in figuring out why it was wearing out, we discovered that the pipe casing, the well casing, was deteriorating, and there was heavy pitting, and so we sent video of the well to an expert in California, and they concurred with what we thought, that we should probably either re-sleeve that well or re-drill it at some point. So at that time I put in our 10-year capital money to do something with that well, and what I put in there was for next year, because I thought we'd maybe get one more year than we did out of that well. But anyway, so we've gone out to try to find somebody that can help us do this work, and every well driller in the state is booked out past next summer. So we can't do anything with that well right away. So what we're proposing to do is have a pump built that will better withstand sand production, is what's causing the pump to go bad. We took a video of the well about a week ago and found the perforations in the well, which is holes in the pipe that they put in there for the water to come in. A big portion of them are plugged, and we think maybe if we brush that well, we can clear those out and lessen the velocity through the open perforations and produce less sand. So in the meantime, while we're preparing to do something with the well, we need to put it back in service and try to get through a couple of summers with it, because it's either that or purchase water.
What do you estimate for a new pump and for a new motor? How long do you estimate those would be usable? Like,
well, I think they'll last. This one here would last, 5 years. That's all we're getting out of these deep wells, is about 5 years of service anymore. The way they are required to build them isn't as good as the way they used to be able to. So, but anyway, we do need to produce water there while we're putting together a project to either put a sleeve down in that well or re-drill it right there on the same site. And prices are extremely high right now, and we're hoping those will come down in the meantime as well. So I'm proposing, I listed out things, that we need to do. $6,000 to remove and replace the equipment, $9,000 for a power cable, $23,925 for the new pump, $12,300 to rebuild the motor. A new motor is a little over $19,000, so I thought we'd better just rebuild it. And then brush the well to try to open those clogged perforations before the equipment goes back in. And we'll take a picture immediately after we brush it, take a video of it just to make sure we did what we need to do with it. But that cost will be $59,290.
who's the source of the, who do you hire to do the video?
Nickerson is doing this one, and the main reason they're doing it is I had them pull the well and pull the pump apart and inspect it, and so since I was already into them money, I just allowed them to do the video. And so, but this, what I've listed, is a total cost of what they've already done for us and what they will do for us.
Any further questions from the council? If not, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $59,290 to replace the Calder Well.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That passes. Thank you, Mark. Good to see you. And the next item is Chad's, but Chad is not here, so I suspect that Mr. Lloyd is going to have these next two items.
So thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. If you'll just pretend with me for a moment that I'm Chad. And that,
Not enough hair.
and yeah, that's true. And that I really know what I'm talking about instead of just being a pitch hitter on this item. But tonight we bring to you an item for approval for the expansion of parking at the Creekside Senior Living Center. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their last meeting. You may recall that this was mentioned earlier in the meeting tonight. The expansion of the parking lot is intended to serve the employees of Creekside Living because of the residents having a few more vehicles than was previously anticipated. But after reviewing the proposal, it's been determined that it meets the requirements for landscaping, that the specific addition site for the parking meets the 40% requirement for landscaping, and when combined into the overall Creekside development, that the entire parcel has more than 40% landscaping. So that's good to know that they are well in compliance. There's no real utility issues. The storm drain, which the drainage off from that site will be directed into the existing system, which is already sized appropriately and has adequate capacity. The parcel that the parking is proposed to be on fronts onto 400 North, which is a state highway. There's no need for access off from 400 North. The parking will be accessed from within the Creekside development, and so there won't be any impacts to traffic on 400 North. The Planning Commission has sent forward a positive recommendation for approval on this with a few minor items, kind of standard things. Number one, that all red line corrections are made to the plans, and having reviewed those, I didn't really see that there were any to be made. Number two, that the parcels be consolidated. This parcel is currently a separate parcel from the Creekside development, and so in order to incorporate it into the overall development, they would just need to do a little deed work and combine those. And also that a final landscape plan be submitted that meets the requirements of the ordinance. And so with that, that's our recommendations.
Any questions? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Grant preliminary and final site plan approval for the Creekside Senior Living parking lot as presented by Chad.
By Chad. Looks a lot like Lloyd.
Chad?
And do I have a second?
Second.
Mayor, before there's a vote, now that there's a second, it might be wise, and I know you won't be voting unless there's a tie.
Right.
To disclose your relationship.
Yeah, that's where I work, and I'm not saying anything. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Hey, you got a chance now.
Yeah.
Mayor vote.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And again, Mr. Cheney, our city engineer.
Thank you. Now I have a subject that I can speak on with confidence.
You did that very well, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. So, in preparation for the work that's coming up this summer, the engineering department and the street department prepared a bid package with specifications for the overlay work that's anticipated. Now, this is a fairly sizable project. We're going to be overlaying Main Street from 1800 South down to 2600 South, and also Second West from 1800 South to 2600 South. And that's before July 1, so in the current fiscal year. It's a little bit unique that we have an opportunity to build a bid package that would encompass projects from 2 different years. And so with that opportunity, we decided we would throw in the overlay on 1800 South from Orchard Drive to 1300 East. Now that's a huge project, and these 3 projects, you can see by the bid amounts, $500,000 worth of work in overlay this summer that'll be completed before most likely the end of September. That's a lot of work in town. We had a meeting today that I'd like to report to you about with Staker-Parson, with representatives from them. And the reason why we had a meeting with them was a few years ago, the street department had some issues with some of the product they supplied, and we wanted to meet with them and just explain our concerns, and also to emphasize to them our commitment to having a good product, because these are 3 very high volume roads. 1800 South takes about 13,000 cars a day. That's a lot of cars. 200 West is, it's way down there. It's between about 3,000 and 4,000 typically. But Main Street, I was surprised to look through the traffic counts and see that that's between 7,000 and 8,000 cars a day on that street. So these are very important roads to us. We need to be sure that with this $500,000 that we're going to spend, that we're getting the kind of product that we deserve to have, that's a quality product that's going to last, and that our money will be well spent. And we got a commitment from Staker to get the best crews, the best traffic control, the best working relationship with the residents and businesses along those projects, and to have the best materials that they could produce. I was really pleased to hear those words from them, and I think that went a long ways to helping our street department, feel comfortable with these guys working in town. Our street department has a lot of ownership in the things that happen in our town on streets, and it was really a good, positive meeting. And I feel like they will be a good team. They're a huge player. They are an 800-pound gorilla in the world of paving in our neighborhood. They're one of the big companies, so they have a lot on the line. They have a lot of capability, and they've committed their best to us this summer. I was very happy at our bid opening to have bids from 8 companies. It was actually very surprising, given the economic conditions and how busy everyone is. I really think I want to say we were smart, but I think we were more fortunate that we picked the right time to bid this project before everyone's schedules filled up. And so now they have a commitment, they have a spot reserved for us early in their schedules to do the work and to provide the materials. So with that information, and knowing that the work in the current budget year, that's Main Street and 200 West, is already funded in the current budget, and that we will make room for the 1800 South overlay in the upcoming budget, I would recommend to you that the City Council accept Staker-Parson's proposal at the unit prices listed in their proposal.
Thank you. Any questions?
Are they going to be doing Main Street and 200 West at the same time?
No, they will work on one project at a time.
Okay.
Main Street and 200 West, those will both be done before July 1st.
Okay.
Nice.
Any other questions?
Could I ask a question, Mayor?
Sure.
Lloyd, underneath the road is, of course, water, sewer, or things looking well there that we're not going to have to dig holes down through the new overlay to get at something that's broken?
Main Street is in pretty good shape. We haven't planned any utility work. Well, we did a little utility work down there last summer, fixing a storm drain right by Performance Honda.
Mm-hmm.
That took about a month just to fix one piece of the storm drain there. During the summer, though, we did have replacement of the culinary water lines in 200 West, and also the irrigation main was replaced down there. So we feel like we're in pretty good shape utility-wise on 200 West. We have a little bit of work, infrastructure work to do on 1800 South, but we don't have any major water line or utility projects planned.
Okay, thank you.
There are no other discussions. We'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve the proposed project for Staker-Parson for the 2019 asphalt overlay projects at the unit prices submitted in the proposal.
Thank
I'll
you. And
second.
a second. Thank you, Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Lloyd. And we'll turn this last item over to our finance guru, Mr. Tyson Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you tonight, we have an interlocal agreement between the city and Davis County. And we bring this to you as part of the interlocal agreement that we have with Centerville City. You'll remember that back on July 1st, the Bountiful City Police Department, our dispatching center, took over the police dispatching for the Centerville City Police Department. Our dispatching center has always done multiple dispatching for multiple cities around ours, and Centerville City was one of the more recent changes that we took on their dispatching services. Along with that, the city is entitled to the 911 taxes that are being collected from the Centerville City jurisdiction. Now, the state code requires that 911 taxes be collected and distributed based off of certain calculations. And those calculations are based off of a 3-year average of the 911 call volume that comes into a dispatching center. They call them the PSAP, or the Public Safety Answering Points. And with that distribution, they average the past 3 years of 911 calls, and that's how they allocate the 911 revenues to the dispatching centers. Now, because Bountiful City just picked up the dispatching for Centerville City, we are entitled to the 911 revenue, but unfortunately that 911 revenue, per the statute of the state law, has been continually sent to Davis County, who was the previous dispatching center for the Centerville Police Department. So in order to resolve this issue where Bountiful City actually collects the 911 taxes that we're entitled to by dispatching for Centerville City, we spent some time with both the Tax Commission and with Davis County. Unfortunately, the Tax Commission has their hands kind of tied at the moment based off of the current data that they have to be able to just quickly redistribute the 911 taxes, because as I mentioned, it's based off of a 3-year average of 911 call volume. They actually don't collect that data by jurisdiction. They collect that data by PSAP, the Public Safety Answering Point, and so that I want to say almost challenge in the way that the state statute requires that the 911 tax to be distributed, makes it so that the Tax Commission kind of has their hands tied and doesn't have the ability to quickly redistribute that 911 tax revenue to us. So their suggestion was that as Bountiful City Management, we go back to Davis County and work out an agreement where both feel that we're fairly representing each party, and then we go back to the Tax Commission and they can carry out that redistribution. So what we have before you tonight is an interlocal agreement that has been reviewed by the Davis County Legal Counsel and the Davis County Clerk, and is something that we feel is a good compromise. Something where we'll be able to get $255,000 of 911 tax revenue redistributed back to our dispatching center. And this would happen over a 3-year period, as I mentioned, again, that 3-year average. And it is a chance for us to recoup the money that has already gone to Davis County, and something that we feel is a good compromise on both sides. So the staff is recommending tonight that the City Council approve Resolution 2019-01 for an interlocal cooperation agreement between Davis County and Bountiful City for the redistribution of 911 taxes. With that, there's obviously a lot of details that go into this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. If not, we are recommending the approval of this interlocal agreement.
Any questions?
I really appreciate your work. I know that you've done a lot to work on this. I'm sure that you have figures in terms of how much Centerville pays in taxes, in 911 taxes. So what would you say is the percentage compared to what you came up with for like an annual rate that we would collect from them?
Good question. So the tricky part about this 911 tax revenue is that the way that the 911 tax has been collected traditionally recently changed by statute. So they used to be collected and distributed based off of the population. And so each PSAP or dispatching center would get a certain allocation based off of the population that they served. And that law changed to now be based off of 911 call volume that they receive. So a dispatching center would receive, so many 911 calls every year. And so the statute actually changed. So it really makes it tricky to know exactly how much 911 tax revenue pertains to Centerville City specifically. The compromise that we came to is that we took the old methodology of distribution based off of population, and because with that we were able to actually splice out how much of Davis County's 911 taxes pertain to Centerville City, and that actually happened around 2016. And so then we took those numbers and inflated them into today's dollars and came up with an amount that we feel is a good representation. The tricky part with looking at today's 911 taxes for the jurisdiction of Centerville is that it's anyone's guess on whether a 911 call came from a cell tower located right on the verge of Centerville City or on the verge of Bountiful or North Salt Lake. So the way that the 911 calls are received by cell towers, by dispatching centers, whether it's a landline, whether it's a IP address, so VoIP line, there's so many different avenues that are complicating the current situation that we didn't feel it was a good avenue to go down to try and extract data based off of what's coming in as of today. And so we used the historical data, inflated that to today's dollars, and came up with what we feel is representative of what the 911 taxes for Centerville truly are. It is an estimate, and I will say that we don't know that there is an accurate way to come up with it, but we do feel that we're collecting everything that we could from.
So, do you have any idea, like, if Centerville City, based on their call volume, if it is not as much as what they have collected, do you know what happens with that difference?
I'm not sure I understand fully your question.
Yeah, so the amount of 911 taxes that are collected, if that doesn't match up with the call volume, then what?
I think what would happen is if there's a difference, if we have underestimated what's due to Bountiful, Davis County just keeps the difference.
Or overestimated?
Or if we overestimated, yeah, they would over-distribute to us.
Until we get historical data, right?
And at that point, yeah, once the 3 years has passed, then all the money that should be distributed to our PSAP will be distributed to our PSAP. So it's, yeah, there's a limited period of time where we may have under or overestimated. And
generally, though, like right now with Bountiful City or whatever, if we're outside of this 3-year window, if they if they tax more than than the call volume warrants, then what happens? Do you know?
We would just get the windfall in that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the reality is they won't be taxing any more than they should. Nobody's going to be overtaxed. It's just a question of who ends up with the tax revenue, Davis County or Bountiful.
So they tax on, like, after the 3 years is over, then do they tax on, like, the year before's numbers?
I think, are you wondering what items are taxed in order to generate the 911 fees? Because I think
the data they're using is like from the prior year's numbers. Is that true?
On what we've calculated to come up with the Centerville jurisdiction, yes, it is based off of 2016 data.
But generally, like after the 3 years are over, then will it be the prior year's numbers that they're taxing on for each to know how much to tax?
Well, I don't know.
The tax commission taxes. I think the tax is levied on a monthly basis, I believe. And so it's current tax
Okay.
information.
But the new law, if I understand this right, Gary and Tyson, the new circumstances are is that we're not given this money from population, and the advantage to us is that it's given by point, which with 2 hospitals, one a regular hospital, another one is a community hospital, and 7 nursing homes, and all the others, we get by far, when we look at when on the board of the fire department, when we look at those numbers, we are hugely ahead of any other South Davis city in call volume, 911.
But the numbers are actually distributed, the pot's distributed statewide.
Right.
And actually, because of the change in the legislation, we lose about $40,000 a year.
Oh, we lose that much.
Compared to where we used to be. This was the chief could talk a lot more about it. It was something that we were opposed to, the change in the distribution formula. One, because it hurts.
So on the formula, we lost money.
On the formula, we lost money.
So, but getting Centerville into this piece really has helped us.
Yeah, it helps cover the cost. Really does along that with and the assessment. It covers the cost of dispatching for them. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for
trying to help me understand.
It's great. Any other questions? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2019-1 as presented by staff and compel the mayor to sign such said document.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
And any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And any other things from staff or from the council? If not, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
And I'll look for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Thank you.